You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to check out when every game is done and the Clippers and Suns are officially in the books. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio, dating back to 2007. Tonight's show brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedinjobs.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, that was a fun one. Interesting, scary, confidence building. A lot of different emotions we went through watching the Clippers pull off a 105-92 win over the Suns in Phoenix. For those of you that missed the start of the game, Clippers came out. I have to watch the game in a variety of different ways because Bally's is not on my streaming service. So I generally watch it on the Bally's Sports app. Which I did tonight again, and I dialed it up, was ready to go, and it said Clippers Suns 7:30. Problem was that is tomorrow night's game. Tonight's game started at 7 and was on channel 5. So I missed the first few minutes, 15, 20 minutes of the game. And I was like, what? I saw it on ESPN and it was 34-4, 35-4. And I was like, what in the hell is going on over there? So I immediately flipped on channel 5 and started watching. And I was like, all right. The first thing that popped into my mind is this is cool, but let's not get crazy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not think the Clippers are going to win this game by 30, right? This is at some point going to be treacherous. It's going to be a little scary. We're going to have an uneasy feeling that they might be blowing this huge lead, which at its largest was 37. Don't know if I mentioned, but James Harden was out as well as Kawhi tonight. So Paul George, Zubats, Russell Westbrook, Terrence Mann, and Norm Powell were your starters. 35-4 was the lead in the first quarter. And the fans at the Footprint Center there in Phoenix were stunned and quite angry, apparently, according to Brian Seaman and Jim Jackson, that there was, rumbling and, those guys are right there down on the floor as the visiting team. So they probably heard a bunch of foul language from the fans in the front rows and understandable. That is one of those things where you're, as a fan of the home team, thinking there's no possible way that we can dig out of this hole. Well, lo and behold, the Suns did. Now, in the fourth quarter, they got it down to 7. So when you're down 37 and you're then only down 7, it does feel like we've made some progress. We have done something here. What we've done is fairly effective and we're back in this, right? But to, pull off a 37-point comeback, that's some heavy uphill sledding, right? Heavy lifting. I thought that the Clippers did a very nice job of playing the game as if they weren't up by 37. And let's be honest, that lead wasn't quite that big the entire game, but that was their largest lead. At the end of one, it was 37-10. Suns only scored 10 points in the first quarter. They came back a little bit in the third and got back into the game. At the end of the first half, it was 66-33. Now that is a large hole to dig out of. Down 33 points at halftime. So they go into the locker room. They get either yelled at or ignored. I don't know. Either one is probably just as effective. But it's got to be hard for the Clippers to focus on keeping this lead going, right? Keeping the pedal down. It just doesn't feel like it's that kind of game where you're able to focus on playing hard. right? You have to, your subconscious has to take over and you take your foot off the gas. But I will say, for the most part, in the first half when they were up big, they continued to keep pushing. They were active and playing hard, right? It wasn't a lot of lazy defense. Now, when it was all said and done, the turnovers were once again a huge issue. 18 in all. That's just way too many. It was a large reason that the fourth quarter was so ugly. They were turning the ball over like crazy. Just got really, really sloppy with the ball. Paul George, who led the way with 23, it seemed like he had more because they were playing so much ISO in the fourth quarter. But it was working out because the Suns were in foul trouble. And with Paul George, fairly decent ball handler, doesn't normally turn it over that much. That's James Harden's job. So, he was getting fouled a lot, went to the line a bunch, 6 of 6 from the line on the night. So all in all, they were 11 of 11. So perfect from the floor, but it seemed like they were getting fouled more than they were. The fact was that it seemed like a good play, right? It seemed like the smart thing to do. They weren't moving the ball well in the fourth quarter. They were just kind of giving it to Paul George and saying, do your thing. And occasionally he would drive and kick and find somebody open. Norm Powell had a nice night. 2 of 4 from beyond the arc, 4 of 12 for 10 points. So it wasn't great, but it was decent. Terrence Mann was a little better, 8 of 10, 1 3, and 17 points. So Russell Westbrook was fantastic most of the night. Most of this game, he was on fire. It was like, as I took my very, very sloppy notes tonight, I was like, Russell Westbrook hitting threes. What? Driving and penetrating with that aggression that you like to see, but sometimes it's dangerous for him because he's too dialed up. He's too aggressive. He's going too hard. Tonight it was working out until it wasn't. We'll get into his night after this. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Clipper Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Also on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Clippers with a 105-92 win in Phoenix at the Footprint Center over the Suns, who they will play again tomorrow night. Russell Westbrook, a triple-double. We will get into that a little bit more right after this. All right, tonight's show brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is a great place if you own your own little small. It's the one move you can make that'll take your business to the next level in 2024. LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and free. My wife is on LinkedIn Jobs as an employee and gets hit up all the time. People, recruiters trying to recruit her to go sell their products. She's in sales as her main job. We also own a small business, and we use it frequently to find employees because we're growing rapidly. So knock on wood, that continues. But LinkedIn Jobs is a great place to find the people you're looking for fast and free. It's not just another job board. LinkedIn Jobs has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire or get hired. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Clippers with a 105-92 win over the Suns in Phoenix after leading by as many as 37. At the end of one, they were up 27, and this extends their winning streak. They beat the Nuggets, the Jazz, nice come-from-behind win over the Cavs. Now that's 4 in a row and 7 of 8. So they're on the right foot. They're trending in the right direction as we head into the playoffs with just 3 games to play. Suns, as I said, tomorrow. Then a couple of days off. They'll play the Jazz on the 12th in LA, and then they wrap up the regular season against the Rockets at home as well. That's on the 14th, which is Sunday, and all the games on Sunday will start at 12:30. So I feel like things are going in the right direction. This is a big win for them. Suns need this because they're on the bubble of going into the play-in tournament. So, it's important for them. Not that it wasn't important for the Clippers to try to keep that lead on the Dallas Mavericks, but Kevin Durant started really slow, started making big buckets in the fourth quarter. He played 40 minutes, 8 of 22 for 21 points, hit a couple of threes. Devin Booker did play in this one, also played 40 minutes, but only hit one basket. Devin Booker, one basket? How's that possible? Is he saddened by the fact that Calipari left Kentucky? What is up there? 0 for 4, 10 of 11 from the line. So he finished with 12 points. Bradley Beal had a good game, 6 of 13, 1 3, perfect from the line, 6 of 6, and 19 points. Most of that coming in the fourth quarter when the Suns were starting to make a run. 35-18 in the third quarter. The Suns outscored the Clippers, and then in the fourth quarter it was a 3-point differential. Suns outscoring the Clips 24-21. But as for Russell Westbrook's triple-double, he had 16 points, 15 assists, and 15 rebounds, most of that coming in the first three quarters. He was hitting threes. He had 2 threes, did not go to the free throw line, but 7 of 17 from the floor. Very active until he wasn't. I mean, he was still active, but until he stopped making shots. And, it's like he gets tight. When he's flowing and free and playing loose, that's when he's at his best. Now, I don't know how you bottle that. I don't know how you take that and say, I'm going to do this all the time. But when it got tight there and the Suns got it down to 7, Russ was short arming things, bricking shots as he does. But all in all, he hit some threes. He was very good penetrating the lane. And then he started missing. So I guess you take the good with the bad, and the energy is what Russell Westbrook provides to this team. And I think that is huge for them. So I thought the defense was not terrible. And that is, a good position to be in when you were up big like that, because it very easily could have turned into lazy. At times it was. As I said, the turnover is still a problem. Paul George turned it over 4 times, a couple of times in the fourth quarter. When he needed to lock down, burn time, just make baskets, because the Suns were making them. They could have traded punches there down the stretch, and ultimately that's what they did. But the Suns went on a 17-0 run at one point early in the fourth, at the end of the third into the fourth. So, the defense really wasn't there. I think that's probably when they got the laziest right there. And then, the third quarter, there was still some issues. It wasn't great, but in the end, they got a comfortable win, and it never got really tight. It felt much tighter than it was. Terrence Mann got a technical foul when you were up 32. I'm sorry. What are you upset about when you're up 32? I started thinking that was really foolish and dumb, but then I started to think, well, maybe that's good that they're not looking at this like they're up 32. They're playing with energy and their intensity is there. So that was upon further review, that was fine with me. Zoo was working hard in the paint, had a great game, 8 of 13, 17 points. Everyone's plus minus was in the plus. How could it not be? Plus 12 for Paul George, plus 17 for Zoo, plus 17 for Russ. Terrence Mann was plus 7, and Norman Powell, although he only scored 10, he was plus 25. Bones Highland came in off the bench, hit 1 3 from 27 feet. By the way, we have to get to the bucket list here in just a second. Bones Highland made it there with his 3. Plumlee played 8 minutes, 2 points, and Amir Coffey, ton of energy defensively, offensively, hit 3 threes. Good to see him continuing to play with that energy, because he's a big part of this team off of the bench, because he can shoot, he can drive and penetrate. He plays very well around the rim when he's elevating, and he's very, very good on defense. There was one thing that I thought was very interesting in the second quarter. It was 53-20, and Ty Lue called a timeout because he was not happy. And it was kind of a foreshadowing, a sign of things to come. But I thought that was nice to see that at times, you could see a coach going, we're fine, getting lazy. And Ty Lue had that look on his face like, I don't like this. And we saw that look later in the fourth quarter on the entire Clippers team, especially Terrence Mann. At one point, they've zoomed in on Terrence Mann, and he had that look on his face like, I don't like the way this is going. OS, right? It was just kind of like, not what we're looking for. And then there's a little skirmish between O'Neal and Norm Powell. I gotta be honest with you. They say, I've never met Norm Powell, but they say Brian Seaman, Jim Jackson, all the sideline reporters, Christina Pink, they all say that Norm Powell is one of the nicest guys. Friendly, easy to talk to, easy to deal with, jovial. He's not a hard ass. But I tell you, when he's mad, he looks like a hard ass. Like, that is a guy that I would not want to mess with, especially with that scar right between his eyes. So O'Neal doesn't seem like a kind of guy you want to mess with either. But that was just the dumbest thing. It looked like they got tangled up on a rebound, and Paul George kind of rolled over Powell and pushed Powell into O'Neal. And then they were like ready to go at it. They're ready to throw blows. I was like, relax. Nothing even happened. There was no hooking, no pushing, none of that. When two guys fall on top of each other, the guy on top will push off to get up or step on him to get up. None of that. There was nothing. I don't know what they were fighting about. And there was some very active language, let's say, that was very present. I'm not good at reading lips, but I could read a few of the words that were coming out of Norm's mouth, and he was none too pleased, but they got it all worked out, and that's good news. Let's go to tonight's bucket list. In at number 5 or 6, maybe even 7 top buckets of the night. In at number 5, Paul George hit a 3 under 2 in the first. That made it 35-4. And again, that number was just shocking. 35-4. They're literally, you should never lose a game when you're up that big. Fortunately, they didn't, but I thought for a second they might. And then when that was potentially part of the storyline of this game, that they might blow a 37-point lead, I'm like, well, that might not be bad either. That would wake them up, wouldn't it? I don't know. Number 4, Norm Powell, a catch and shoot 3, which he had couple of nights ago, and Norm seems to be more of the guy that creates his own shot. I love seeing him catch and shoot because he's such a rhythm shooter, and when he makes it, it just seems so very confident. So this was a catch and shoot 3 at the 11:03 mark of the second. It made it 43-12, and then not long after, 10:53, Coffee had a 3. I believe there was 2 in a row for him there, and it was a confident shot that he knocked down. It was just fun to see at that point. The Clippers were absolutely rolling, 46-12 the lead at that point. And then number 3, Bones Highland, a deep 3 straight away, 27 feet rather. It was at the 8:13 mark of the second to make it 51-14. I mean, those numbers just don't seem real, right? 51-14. The Suns should have lost this game by 30, maybe 20, but they didn't. They rallied and got back into it. 105-92, the final. So give the Clippers credit for holding on. Number 2, Norm Powell, a corner 3 from Amir Coffey. It was a beautiful pass. It made it 84-56, 3:19 of the third. It was that period of time where the Suns were going on a run and the Clippers were losing confidence. They lost energy. It was kind of right when things were starting to get a little iffy, like, here we are, it's getting a little too close for comfort. And at 84-56, you wouldn't think that, right? But not long after that, it was 10 points. The Suns really, that third quarter was amazing. 35-18. They were rolling. They got it down to 19, then 16. That's when Russ started just chucking. Like, I'm hot. I'm gonna shoot. Shooter's gonna shoot. No, Russ, stop shooting. Like, you cooled off. Like, I've never seen someone go from hot to cold. The heat check thing for Russ happens very, very fast. So 84-56 on Norm's 3 there, which was a nice bucket the Clippers needed. And for number 1, Paul George, it really wasn't substantial in the score of the game, but it was a confidence building, and it was just a beautiful shot from Paul George. A step back, huge bucket. KD was all over him. I mean, KD's defense was fantastic, and it wasn't a three, but it was just inside of the perimeter. And I was like, that's not going in. That's a terrible shot. What are you doing? And of course it did. And I was like, yes, that's what they needed right then. It was a huge bucket. It made it 91-78. But of course the Suns kept coming and got that down to 7. But within a very short period of time, Clippers rebuilt that lead, and it was back up to double digits in a matter of time. So we'll continue to break it down, and we'll get to what was good about Paul George's game all in all. I thought kind of being the leader of the team with Kawhi Leonard out and James Harden out, there's a lot of pressure on him, and he took advantage of it. And I think he held up well. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Clippers Postcast. We come on right after the game and break it down for you on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. And you can also listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, tonight's show brought to you by Game Time. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from the seat, which is huge. You know exactly what you're going to be seeing from your seat. And if you have a significant other or a buddy that can get persnickety if the seats aren't great, then this is perfect for you, because you know exactly where you're going to be sitting and what you're going to be seeing. They have the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. It's fast and easy at Game Time. It's a great way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater, all sorts of different events near you. And again, views from the seat. They are obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has last minute deals right up until the start of the event. As it gets closer to the event, the price goes down, which is huge. For example, I was looking at Clippers Suns tomorrow night yesterday, and it was like over 40. Today it's like 34. It'll probably be even less as they get closer to the game tomorrow. So if you haven't been to a Clippers game yet and you want to see another good one, that's going to be a good one. The final 3 of the regular season, I guarantee you that the prices will go up when the playoffs roll around. So get into one of those games before time expires on the end of the regular season. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, 105-92. Clippers are now 51-28. They won 7 of 8 and 4 in a row. Sorry. So going into another one tomorrow night at home against the Suns should be very interesting. They beat the Cavs. That was a nice come from behind win. Big win over the Jazz and a big win over the Nuggets. So they are playing well at the right time. I think I like the thing I like most about this game. Let's do the most and the worst. Okay. The fact that they got off to a hot start and the fact that Paul George led the way. He has continued to play great since the All-Star break. He is the top 4 in the league with LeBron was on that list. Who else was on that list? Kyrie Irving, the guy that plays for the Celtics. That's really good. I'm forgetting his name right now. And Paul George, the best 4 shooters in the league, percentage-wise, 3 points made, all of that stuff since the All-Star break. Paul George is shooting like 24, averaging 24 a night, dating back to the All-Star break, 50% from the field, just lighting it up, and he's continuing to do it. The thing that I of course, I don't know, worried is not the right word. Leery, something that's kind of hanging over my head. Paul George plays great, right? Kawhi's out. James Harden's out. Most people think, logic would say, well, Paul George was great. They won. And Kawhi was out. And James Harden was out. Well, that's only going to make things better. Is it? I don't know. I really don't know. Is Kawhi going to have to find a rhythm with the team again? Are they going to get him back out there in the final 3 games? Is he going to play tomorrow? Probably not. Maybe the last 2. Are they just going to wait till the playoffs? They're not going to keep him out. He's not that hurt. At least that's what they're telling us, right? I remember last year saying the same thing. Oh, he's fine. He's not that hurt. And he was that hurt. And he didn't play anymore. And they lost. So I feel like, they're playing fine without him. If Harden was out there, I think they still would have been fine. You can't say that this team is better without Kawhi Leonard. There's just no way. But is it going to be a problem to reintegrate him? Is it going to cut into Paul George's effectiveness? I mean, he's been so good. And that's partially with Kawhi on the floor. Those guys work well together. There's not any animosity between those two. So it's probably fine. I tell you what, I'm worried about it. It's hanging over my head. I can't ignore it. It's definitely out there. Harden figures out a way to fit in. As I've said before, most of the time, as goes Harden, goes the Clippers. If he's dishing, making shots, that's good for them. If he's off, turning the ball over, pressing, it's not good. So Kawhi can run the offense. Harden can make shots. Westbrook provides the energy. Paul George plays ISO in the fourth quarter. Kawhi Leonard, very good in that position as well, playing ISO in the fourth quarter. I don't normally love that. I don't also know why teams go away from moving the ball late in games. Probably because if the other team's in foul trouble, it sends them to the line, as it did tonight for the Clippers. That makes a lot of sense, right? If you got a guy like Paul George and the opponent is in foul trouble, he's going to draw fouls because he's a star more often than not. And he's also going to make those shots. And when you're passing it around the perimeter, turnovers can be an issue, especially when you're a team like the Clippers plagued with turnovers. So that's what I liked at least. The fact that the turnovers were still a freaking issue. I swear it's gonna bite them in the ass when the playoffs roll around. There's just no way that they can continue to turn the ball over that much. Trovo says, I think we found our playoff duo. Russ plus PG, Kawhi plus Harden. Russ and PG, Kawhi and Harden. So you're saying when Kawhi and Harden are on the floor, Russ and PG are sitting. All right. All right. I don't hate that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't hate it. What I do know is PG and Kawhi are going to be on the floor at the same time, and Russ and Harden are not. And I'm like, Russ and Harden being on different rotations is fine. That makes sense to me. But PG and Kawhi not on the floor at the same time, I don't know. Is it Trovo or Trovo? It's Trovo because you have an accent over the second O. So, maybe Ty Lue is adventuresome and will try something different. Early in the season or early in the year, let's say, they were playing great. That five starting group: Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann, James Harden, and Ivica Zubac. That's the five that we're hoping, I think, goes into the playoffs starting for this team. I just don't know that they can turn the ball over that many times and be successful. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have to figure out how to clean up the turnovers. Still an issue. It's been an issue for, I don't even know how long. I feel like I say it every freaking night. The defense tonight, better. I'm not as worried about the defense around the perimeter. I'm not as worried about the defense in the paint either. I feel like when it becomes playoff time, they will ratchet it up. Ty Lue is the worst coach in the league. Wow. That's quite a statement right there. Okay. I don't know what to say to that. Saif, I don't agree. Let's say that. I do not agree that he's the worst coach in the league. I think you can find 5 or 6 other coaches that are worse, right? But okay, you're entitled to your opinion. That's going to do it for tonight's postcast. Clippers with a 105-93. Ending on a high note. Ty Lue is the worst coach in the league. All right. What are you telling me next, Ed? Kawhi Leonard's the worst player in the league, and Paul George is garbage too. All right. Thank you for watching us here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Back with you tomorrow. I'll be doing a doubleheader tomorrow because the Dodgers play early in Minnesota, looking for a sweep of the Twins at Target. Their game starts at 10. So I'll be on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel doing Dodgers postcast in the morning or early afternoon. And then in the evening, we'll do Clippers on the same channel, the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. But you can listen first on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed, second on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Thanks again for joining us. Clippers 105-92 over the Suns, improving their record to 51-28, 26-15 on the road. Suns are now 46-33, 25-16 at home. Have a good night. We will talk again tomorrow, twice, especially if you're a Dodger fan and a Clipper fan. Have a good one.